maybe the last time you talked to your dad was the last time you'll ever talk to him. And it was just kind of a very special little thing, and he wanted to thank me for me talking about some of my struggles.
Nobody expected a farm kid from rural Iowa to become one of YouTube's most recognizable faces in agriculture. There were no flashing lights, no big city studios, just endless cornfields, early mornings, and a teenager holding a camera between chores. While most creators were chasing trends, Cole was chasing weather windows and fixing broken machinery before sunrise. And somehow, that raw, unfiltered look at farm life started pulling in thousands, then hundreds of thousands, then millions. What made it different wasn't just the tractors or the towering combines. It was the honesty, the long days, the stress when equipment failed at the worst possible moment. Viewers weren't watching a highlight reel. They were stepping into real farm life, dirt and all. And in a world full of polished influencers, that authenticity hit hard. But what really pushed Cole from farm kid with a camera to full-blown online phenomenon? That's where the story takes a turn no one saw coming. The turning point didn't happen in some flashy viral moment. It happened during planting season, when the pressure was real and the cameras kept rolling. One breakdown, one late night repair, one race against the weather, and suddenly people couldn't look away. Viewers weren't just watching tractors move through fields. They were watching high-stakes decisions unfold in real time. When equipment failed, you saw the frustration. When storms rolled in, you felt the tension. And when things finally worked, the relief was genuine. That unpredictability became addictive. Farming isn't scripted. Crops don't care about thumbnails. And that raw uncertainty made every upload feel like a live event. Then the scale started growing. Bigger machinery, more acres, more responsibility. The channel evolved from documenting chores to documenting leadership. Cole wasn't just helping anymore. He was stepping into a larger role on the farm. That shift gave the story weight. This wasn't just a kid filming his dad anymore. This was the next generation preparing to take over. And with that growth came something else. Pressure. Because once hundreds of thousands of people are watching your every move, every mistake feels amplified. And what happened next would test far more than just machinery. What truly locked people in wasn't the equipment, it was the emotion. When his grandfather's health began declining, the tone of the channel shifted overnight. Suddenly, the videos carried more weight. You could hear it in Cole's voice. The farm wasn't just land anymore, it was legacy. Viewers watched as 3 generations worked side by side, knowing time was fragile. His grandpa wasn't just a background figure, he was part of the identity of the farm. The quiet advice, the subtle humor, the steady presence in the shop. When updates about his condition surfaced, the comment sections filled with support. Millions of strangers felt personally connected to a family they'd never met. And that vulnerability changed everything. Cole wasn't just documenting harvests anymore. He was documenting moments that couldn't be replaced. Some critics questioned whether sharing such personal struggles crossed a line. Others believed it was the most honest thing he'd ever done. Either way, the engagement skyrocketed. The audience wasn't just invested in crops, they were invested in people. But emotional storytelling can be a double-edged sword. Because once you open that door, the world expects transparency, and that expectation would soon collide with the growing business behind the channel. As the channel grew, so did the business behind it. And that's when the tone online began to shift. What started as a teenager filming chores had evolved into sponsorships, merch drops, and serious ad revenue. For some viewers, it was inspiring. For others, it raised eyebrows. Suddenly, people were asking tough questions. Was the farm still the focus, or was the content machine taking over? Critics pointed to dramatic thumbnails and high-stakes titles, claiming things felt more intense than before. A few even suggested the line between authentic storytelling and strategic click-chasing was starting to blur. Then there were safety concerns. Farming is already dangerous. Add cameras, deadlines, and the pressure to capture every moment. And some viewers worried about risks being taken for the sake of content. Comment sections occasionally lit up with debates about whether certain situations should have been filmed at all. But here's the twist. Through all the criticism, the numbers kept climbing. More subscribers, more views, more engagement, controversy, even mild, only seemed to amplify the spotlight. And that spotlight brought something far heavier than online debates. Because behind the growth, behind the business, there was mounting pressure that couldn't be solved with a thumbnail. The real pressure didn't come from critics. It came from trying to do 2 full-time jobs at once. Farming doesn't pause for algorithms. Crops won't wait because a video needs editing. And weather definitely doesn't care about upload schedules. Yet somehow, Cole was juggling harvest deadlines by day and content deadlines by night. During peak seasons, sleep became optional. Long hours in the field were followed by longer hours reviewing footage, responding to sponsors, planning the next upload. What viewers saw was a 20-minute video. What they didn't see were the dozens of hours behind it, the constant need to top the last upload, the silent stress of wondering if views might dip. Speculation about burnout started circulating. Some fans noticed moments where the energy seemed different, quieter, heavier. Others defended him, saying the grind was simply part of building something big. But when your life becomes your content, there's no clear-off switch. Every challenge becomes public. Every setback gets analyzed, and the farm itself wasn't getting any easier. Rising costs, equipment repairs, market uncertainty, the stakes were growing on both sides of the camera. Because this wasn't just about views anymore. It was about legacy, livelihood, and proving that this new path could actually last. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get bigger, they did. The channel wasn't just documenting a farm anymore, it was building a brand. Merch drops started selling out. Partnerships with agriculture companies rolled in. What began as a camera in a cornfield was turning into a full-scale operation. And that shift changed the stakes again. Now, every decision carried weight beyond the farm. Sponsors expected performance. Fans expected consistency. The audience wasn't just watching for entertainment. They were watching to see if this young farmer could actually redefine what modern agriculture looked like online. Cole wasn't just representing his family anymore. In many ways, he was representing an entire generation of young farmers trying to survive in a tough industry. But growth always brings uncertainty. Can you stay authentic when the spotlight gets brighter? Can you balance tradition with innovation without losing either? Those questions haven't fully been answered yet. What's undeniable is this. Cole proved that farming content isn't niche, it's powerful. He turned everyday grind into something millions care about. And whether critics like it or not, he's carved out a new lane that didn't exist before. The real question now isn't how he rose, it's how far this rise can actually go. But here's what most people still don't fully understand. The rise of Cole wasn't just about views, tractors, or even family legacy, it was about timing. Agriculture rarely gets mainstream attention unless something goes wrong. Yet somehow, he made everyday farm life feel urgent, intense, even cinematic. Urban viewers who had never stepped foot on a field suddenly cared about yields, breakdowns, and weather forecasts. Kids who grew up far from rural America started saying they wanted to farm. That shift is bigger than a YouTube channel. It's cultural. At the same time, expectations are higher than ever. The audience wants bigger projects, larger expansions, more behind-the-scenes access. Every season has to outdo the last. And that's a dangerous game when your content depends on variables you can't control. Rain, markets, equipment, health. There's also the quiet question no one says out loud. What happens if the algorithm changes? If views dip? If the spotlight moves on? Farming is already unpredictable. Pairing it with internet fame multiplies that uncertainty. Yet through it all, Cole keeps showing up. Camera rolling, field stretching behind him, still grounded in the same soil where it started. And maybe that's the real story. Not just the rise, but whether he can stay rooted while everything around him keeps growing. In the end, the rise of Cole. The Cornstar isn't just a story about YouTube success, it's about evolution. A farm kid picked up a camera, and without realizing it, he started documenting the transformation of an entire way of life. What began as simple uploads turned into a digital archive of modern agriculture. Uncut, stressful, rewarding, and sometimes overwhelming. He showed the breakdowns, the tight planting windows, the emotional family moments, the weight of stepping into the next generation's role. And through all of it, he built something rare online: trust. People don't just watch for entertainment, they watch because it feels real. But the future remains unwritten. Farming will always be risky, markets fluctuate, equipment fails, weather shifts without warning, and online fame can be just as unpredictable. The challenge now isn't going viral, It's sustaining momentum without losing authenticity. Cole proved that rural stories can command massive audiences. He proved that farming isn't boring. It's intense, high stakes, and deeply personal. The only question left is this: years from now, will we look back at this as the beginning of a new era for agriculture online, or just the first chapter of something even bigger?